Good morning, everybody. This is Van Hargis of Van Hargis Horsemanship. Appreciate you guys joining me this morning. It's a beautiful Saturday morning here in South Texas, and we're going to take a little trip over to the ranch. Appreciate you guys joining me today for the Ranch Road. I'm going to address a question today. This is one that I've actually been putting off, and I've had a couple of reminders. Would you please address this question? And the question about is, quite frankly, at what point do you introduce a tie down to your horse? And I've responded back a couple of times asking about what's the context of the situation and what are you trying to achieve with the situation. And the reason I ask that is, first and foremost, I'm not a big tools person when it comes to, martingales, draw reins, tie downs. I don't like to use very many outside things such as that. I've got absolutely nothing against them. And if you've ever attended my clinics or seminars, I'll tell you that there's some of those items that I really wish we could consider as prescription items, meaning that they should only be used or administered by trainers. And I don't mean just any trainer. I mean somebody who really knows what the heck they're doing. And I think you guys know what I mean by that. But the reality is that none of those tools can do any training. What the purpose of any of those tools is just to enhance maybe what you're already doing or overcoming a problem that somebody else may have caused. In some cases, in some really experienced hands, you can set a horse up into a certain frame that the horse is never really allowed outside that frame. Therefore, that's the only way they think that they can travel. And they get really darn good at doing that. But again, that's by incredibly experienced hands. And when I mean hands, I mean literally the hand himself as well as that trainer's hands to be able to achieve that and achieve it correctly. But to get back to the point about the tie down specifically, at what point do I introduce it? I don't ever really introduce it unless it has a very specific and distinct purpose. I was asked a long time ago what I thought about tie downs. And I knew already that the guy who asked me the question, I'll just say this, he's an extremely prominent person in our horse industry. He's probably one of the biggest retailers in the country. And he asked me that question, and I knew already why he was asking. He was just pretty much just testing my knowledge about certain tools. And of course, this case was specifically a tie down. So, man, what do you think about tie downs? I said, I think they're great for the purpose that they're intended. And it's not to tie down the horse's head, tie down their nose. It's meant to be, and get this, people, it's meant to be a collection support apparatus. And what that means is a tie down has a very specific purpose in helping a horse maintain balance and collection while we are too busy doing whatever it is that we need to be doing. For example, let's say you're cap roping, team roping, and in some rare cases, even maybe barrel racing. Typically high-speed events that require you to use both your hands independently. One hand obviously on the reins, the other hand on a lariat rope. But with a lot of high speed involved, meaning that I need this horse to break out of the box collected and balanced, which would give him a lot more power. And at the same time, I need him to stop big or rate big and turn big. And again, all requires a lot of hind end balance and a lot of power. And so what the tie down does in that situation, if it's adjusted correctly, what it does, it helps maintain that horse's balance on their hind end while we're really busy doing our job, such as guiding the horse at a high speed and roping with our other hand. You see, so it allows us to maintain that balance, if you will. And quite frankly, that's exactly why I jokingly called it that day, was a collection support apparatus. If you truly understand collection has nothing to do with aesthetics, other than aesthetically as far as balanced over the horse's frame and balanced over their feet. If the horse is balanced, everything that we want them to do, they can do better, okay? If they're balanced. However, that tie down doesn't train a horse how to be balanced, meaning that my job, long before I introduce the tie down to the horse in these very specific events, is to teach the horse how to stay balanced off of the bridle, off of my legs, how to stay within frame, which takes literally hours and hours and hours of work and training and time with that horse that a tie down cannot do. In other words, again, I want to reemphasize that. When I introduce a tie down is after I teach the horse how to stay soft and light and balanced off the bridle and between my legs. And then the tie down at that stage becomes a support apparatus. Now, so why do they call it tie down? I hate that title, quite frankly. The tie down implies that it's tying the horse's head down. Now, the inexperienced person will have a horse that's rooting at the nose and kind of being a little bit obnoxious maybe with his nose, and then we want to go put a tie down on him because we want to alleviate that problem. I'm going to go back and quote one of the guys that I think is probably one of my biggest influences, and he said, in order to effect a cure, we first have to find the cause. So you don't go put a tie down on a horse that's indicating those things, such as rooting at the nose, even threatening to rear up. All those things are going to make that situation worse. The question is, why is he rooting at the nose? Why is he threatening to rear up? If you address that, then that tie down's purpose isn't to quote unquote tie the horse's head down. It goes back to what that apparatus was designed to do: collection support, maintain that collection. So when do I introduce the tie down? Only in very, very specific situations and for very specific uses, and only to enhance and support the balance when I'm too busy doing things at a higher speed, such as calf roping, team roping, and that sort of thing, where I can't do that and concentrate and work on the speed all at the same time. So that tie down really becomes a balance and a collection support apparatus. I hope that kind of addresses the question. If you have any other questions regarding that and regarding its purpose, please feel free to get in touch with me. I love to visit about those types of things. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you for joining me on the Ranch Road. And of course, until next time, this is Van Hargis with Van Hargis Horsemanship.